Good day, everyone. We are the Group 3, and we are going to report the Worksheet 7 entitled Endocrine, Digestive, Urinary, and Reproductive Systems. But before that, what is the meaning of these four systems? First, the endocrine system. Endocrine system is a messenger system comprising feedback loops of the hormones released by internal glands of an organism directly into the circulatory system, regulating distant target organs. Second, the human digestive system consists of the gastrointestinal tract plus the accessory of organs of digestion. Digestion involves the breakdown of food into smaller and smaller components until they become ab- until they absorbed and assimilated into the body. Third, urinary system, also known as the renal system or urinary tract, consists of the kidneys, ureters, bladder, and the urethra. The purpose of the urinary system is to eliminate waste from the body, regulate blood volume and blood pressure, control levels of electrolytes and metabolites, and regulate blood pH. Lastly, the reproductive system. Reproductive system of an organism, or also known as the genital system, is the biological system made up of all the anatomical organs involved in sexual reproduction. Many non-living substances such as fluids, hormones, and pheromones are also important accessories to the reproductive system. And now the first reporter is Miss Martina.
Functional anatomy of the endocrine glands. Gross anatomy and basic function of the endocrine glands. Number one, the endocrine and nervous system are major regulating systems of the body. However, the nervous system has been compared to an air mail delivery system and the endocrine system to the Pony Express. Briefly explain this comparison. The nervous system uses nerve impulses to bring rapid control. The endocrine system acts much more slow, and the endocrine glands produce hormones and release them into the blood to travel to relatively distant target organs. Number two, define hormone. A substance, a substance secreted by endocrine tissues into the blood that acts on the target tissue to produce a specific response. Number three, identify the endocrine organ described by the following statements. First is located in the throat, bilobed gland connected by an isthmus. The answer is thyroid gland. Second is it's found atop the kidney. The answer is adrenal gland. Third, a mixed gland located close to the stomach and small intestine. The answer is pancreas. The fourth is found in the roof of the third ventricle of the brain. The answer is pineal gland. Fifth is ride horseback on the thyroid gland. The answer is parathyroid. And last is found in the pelvic cavity of the female concerned with ova and female hormone production. The answer is ovaries. Number four, although the pituitary gland is often referred to as the master gland of the body, the hypothalamus exerts some control over the pituitary pituitary gland. How does the hypothalamus control both anterior and posterior pituitary gland? Pituitary functioning. The answer is produces, releasing, and inhibiting hormones which control the production and release of anterior pituitary hormones, form hormones ADH and oxytocin that are transported to the posterior pituitary, and later released on nervous stimulation from the hypothalamus. Next slide, please. Number 4. Number 5. Name the hormone whose production in inadequate amounts results in the following conditions. Number 1. Poor development of secondary sex characteristics. The answer is estrogen and testosterone. Number 2 is tetany. The answer is PTH. Number 3, diabetes mellitus. The answer is insulin. Number 4, abnormally small stature, normal proportions. The answer is growth hormone or GH. Number 5, myxedema, a lower than normal metabolic rate. The answer is growth hormone or GH. Number 6, basal metabolism hormone. The answer is T4 and T3. Second is regulate blood calcium levels. The answer is PTH, parathyroid gland, and calcitonin, and thyroid gland. Number 3, it helps maturity lymphocytes. The answer is thymus thyroxine. Next slide, please. Number 4, drive development of secondary sexual characteristics. The answer is estrogens and testosterone. Number 5, it regulates the function of another endocrine gland. The answer is LH, TSH, ACTH, FSH, GH, ADH, and anterior pituitary. Number 6, mimic the sympathetic nervous system. The answer is epinephrine and adrenal medulla. Number 7, it regulates blood in glucose levels produced by the same mixed gland. The answer is insulin, pancreas, and glucagon and pancreas. Number 8, directly responsible for regulating the menstrual cycle. The answer is estrogens, ovaries, and progesterone ovaries. Number 9, it helps maintain salt and water balance in the body fluid. The answer is aldosterone, adrenal cortex, and ADH, and hypothalamus. Number 10, involved in milk ejection. The answer is oxytocin and hypothalamus. Next is observing the effects of hyperinsulinism. Number 7, briefly explain what was happening within the fish body when the fish was immersed in the insulin solution. The answer is as insulin entered the fish blood circulation, the insulin started to work and that reduced the blood glucose level of the fish. Number 8, what is the mechanism of the recovery process you observe? The answer is it changes the glucose level of the body. Number 9, what would you do to help a friend who had accidentally taken an overdose of insulin and why? Check your blood sugar levels first, then drink half a cup of ordinary soda or sweetened fruit juice. Chew a hard candy or take glucose paste, tablets, or gel. If you haven't eaten in a while, now is the time to do so. Get some rest and then check your blood sugar after 15 or 20 minutes to keep your blood sugar under control. Next slide, please. Number 10. What is a glucose tolerance test? Use an appropriate reference as necessary to answer this question. The answer is the glucose tolerance test is to measure the amount of glucose that remains in your bloodstream after fasting and then after drinking a sugary drink at fixed intervals. The next reporter will be Wesley.
Test 2. Functional anatomy of the digestive system. The digestive system. Number 1. Match each division of the digestive system with the statements that apply to each. Number 1. Alimentary tube. The answers are letter A, begins at the mouth. Letter C includes the stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Letter F, digestion does take place in some organs. And letter G ends at the anus. Number 2, accessory organs. The answers are letter B, include the teeth, tongue, and salivary glands. Letter D, include the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. And lastly, letter E, no digestion takes place here. Number 2, name the parts of the alimentary tube in which digestion takes place. Oral cavity, stomach, and small intestine. Number 3, name the part of the alimentary tube in which most absorption of nutrients takes place. The answer is small intestine. Number 4, the diagram represents different parts of the human digestive system that convert food into essential nutrients absorbed by the body. Number 1, hard palate is a thin, horizontal bony plate made up of two bones of the facial skeleton located in the roof of the mouth. Number 2, oral cavity refers to the mouth, is the first part of the digestive tract. Number 3, tongue is a muscular organ in the mouth of a typical vertebrate. Number 4, sublingual gland is located on the mylohyoid muscle and covered by the mucosa of the floor of the mouth adjacent to the sublingual fossa of the mandible. Number 4, Number 5, submandibular gland is located below the jaw. Number 6, parotid gland is located just in front of the ears. Number 7, liver is a large, meaty organ that sits on the right side of the belly. Number 8, gallbladder, and number 9, gallbladder is a small pouch that sits under the liver. The gallbladder stores bile produced by the liver. Number 10, common bile duct is a small, tube-like structure formed where the common hepatic duct and the cystic duct join. Number 11, duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. It connects to the stomach. Number 12, ascending colon is the first section. It lies on the right side of the abdominal cavity. Number 13, jejunum is the middle part of the small intestine between the duodenum and the ileum. Number 14, small intestine or small bowel is an organ in the gastrointestinal tract where most of the absorption of nutrients from food takes place. Number 15, cecum is the most proximal part of the large intestine and is located between the ileum and the ascending colon. Number 16, ileum, the final and longest segment of the small intestine. Number 17, esophagus, is the muscular tube that carries food and liquids from your mouth to stomach. Number 18, diaphragm, is a thin skeletal muscle that sits at the base of the chest and separates the abdomen from the chest. Number 19, stomach, is a muscular organ located on the left side of the upper abdomen. Number 20, transverse colon, is a segment of large intestine that passes horizontally across the abdomen and sits beneath other organs in the abdominal cavity. 21. Pancreas is an organ located in the middle abdomen or located in the abdomen. Number 22. The large intestine is the portion of the digestive system most responsible for absorption of water from the ingestible residue of food. Number 22. Descending colon is the part of the large intestine from the splenic flexure to the beginning of the sigmoid colon. Number 24. Rectum is a chamber that begins at the end of the large intestine. And lastly, number 24. Anus is the opening of the rectum through which stool passes out of your body. Types of digestion and end products of digestion. Number 1. Match each type of digestion with the proper descriptive statements. Digestion is often broken down into two types, the chemical digestion. The answer are B. Food is changed to simpler molecules, and letter C, accomplished by the specific eyes. And mechanical digestion, the answers are letter A. Food is broken down to smaller pieces, and letter D, creates more surface area for the action of the digestion enzymes. Number 2. Name the end products of digestion of. Number 1. Fats are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Number 2. Proteins are finally broken down into amino acids. Number 3. Carbohydrates are digested and converted into monosaccharides like glucose. Number 3. Other nutrients released during the digestive process are vitamins, minerals, and water. Oral cavity and pharynx. The oral cavity and pharynx are anatomic spaces defined by hard and soft tissue structures. The oral cavity, or more commonly known as the mouth or buccal cavity, serves as the first portion of the digestive system, and the pharynx or throat is the passageway leading from the mouth and nose to the esophagus and larynx. Number 1. Letter A. The opening for food in the oral cavity is the mouth. Letter B. The superior boundary of the oral cavity is the hard palates. Number 2. Both the teeth and the tongue contribute to mechanical digestion in the oral cavity by what we call mastication. Number 3. Letter A. An individual develops two sets of teeth. The first set is called the deciduous teeth, and if complete, consists of 20 teeth. Letter B. The second set is called the permanent teeth, and if complete, consists of 32 teeth. Number 4. Match the following parts of a tooth with the proper descriptions. Number 1. Enamel. The answers are letter C, covers the crown of a tooth, and letter E, forms a hard chewing surface. And also the dentine, letter A, forms the roofs of a tooth, and the interior of the crown produce a bone-like cement to anchor the roots of a tooth. Number 3. Pulp cavity. Letter F, contains blood vessels and nerves. Number 4. Periodontal membrane. The answer is letter B, produces a bone-like cement to anchor the roots of a tooth. Number 5. The tongue is important for the sense of taste. Letter B. As the first step in swallowing, the tongue is elevated to push food toward the pharynx. Number 6. Name the pairs of salivary glands with these locations. Number 1. Below the floor of the mouth, sublingual glands. Sublingual glands, the smallest of the three major salivary glands. The sublingual glands are almond-shaped and they empty near junction of your tongue and the floor of your mouth. Number 2, in front of the ears, parotid glands. Parotid glands, these largest salivary glands sit on the sides of your face in front of your ears. They empty saliva into your mouth near your upper molar. Number 3, at the posterior corners of the mandible, the answer is submandibular glands. Submandibular glands are rounded in shape and lie below your jaw. They secrete saliva into your mouth from under the tongue. Number 7, the salivary glands are exocrine glands because they have duct to take saliva to the oral cavity. Number 8, letter A, the digestive enzyme in saliva is salivary amylase, which digests starch to maltose. Letter B, the water of saliva is important to dissolve food so that it may be tasted and to moisten a mass of food so that it may be swallowed. Letter C, the enzyme in saliva that inhibits the overgrowth of bacteria in the oral cavity. Number 9. The only eating-related function of the pharynx in which is a reflex regulated by a center in the medulla of the brain. Esophagus. Informally known as the food pipe or gullet. It is an important part of the digestive system and your digestive tract. Number 1. The esophagus takes food from the pharynx to the stomach. Number 2, letter A. At the junction of the esophagus and the stomach is a circular smooth muscle called the lower esophageal sphincter. Letter B. Contraction of this sphincter prevents the backup of food into the esophagus. Typical structure of the alimentary tube. Number 1. Match each layer of the alimentary tube with the proper descriptive statements. Number 1. Mucosa. The answers are A. Includes the epithelial tissue that lines the organ. Letter D. Secretes mucus and digestive enzymes. And letter F. Contains lymph nodules to destroy pathogens. Number 2. Submucosa. The answers are letter C. Made of areolar connective tissue. And letter G. Contains Meissner's plexus enteric nerves that regulate secretions of the mucosa. Number 3. External muscle layer. The answers are letter E. Made of 2 layers, typically of smooth muscle. Letter H. Contains urbax plexus enteric nerves that regulate peristalsis. And letter J. Provides mechanical digestion and peristalsis. Number 4, serosa. The answers are letter I. Below the diaphragm is the mesentery, and letter B, above the diaphragm made of fibrous connective tissue. Stomach. Stomach is a muscular organ located on the left side of the upper abdomen. Number 1. The stomach is the sac-like portion of the alimentary tube that extends from esophagus to the small intestine. Number 2. Some digestion thus takes place in the stomach, which also serves as a reservoir for food so that digestion takes place gradually. Number 3. Letter A. The folds of the gastric mucosa that are present when the stomach is empty are called rugae. Letter B. The glands of the stomach are called gastric pits and their secretion is called gastric juice. Number 4. Match the cells of the gastric pits with their proper secretion. Number 1. Mucus cells. The answer is letter C. Secrete mucus which helps protect the gastric mucosa. Number 2. Sheath cells. The answer is letter A. Secrete pepsinogen, an inactive form of the enzyme pepsin. Number 3. Parietal cells. Letter B is the answer. Secrete hydrochloric acid which activates pepsin. Number 4. G cells. The answer is letter D. Secrete gastrin when food enters the stomach. Number 5. Letter A. The part of gastric juice that kills most microorganisms that enter the stomach is hydrochloric acid. Number Letter A rather, the part of the gastric juice that digests proteins to polypeptides in the enzyme is called pepsin. Number 6, letter A. Secretion of gastric juice may begin with the sight or smell of food. This is a parasympathetic response. Letter B. When food actually reaches the G stomach, the cells of the gastric pit secretes the hormone gastrin, which stimulates the secretion of more gastric juice. Number 7. Letter A. Mechanical digestion in the stomach is a function of the external muscle layer of the wall of the stomach. Letter B. The pyloric sphincter is located at the junction of the pylorus of the stomach and the duodenum of the small intestine. Letter C. When the pyloric sphincter contracts, it prevents the backup of food from the duodenum to the stomach. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. It is located between the stomach and the middle part of the small intestine or jejunum. The next reporter will be Jaya Evangelio.
The following diagram depicts a partial longitudinal section of the stomach. Number 1 is esophagus. Number 2 is cardia. Number 3 is lesser curvature. Number 4 is pyloric sphincter valve at pylorus. Number 5, duodenum. Number 6, fundus. Number 7, longitudinal layer. Number 8, circular layer. Number 9, oblique layer. Number 10, lumen. Number 11, greater curvature. Number 12, rogae of mucosa. And number 13 is pyloric antrum. Next slide. Liver and gallbladder. Number 1A. The liver is located just below the diagram in the upper right and center of the abdominal cavity. Letter B. The functional unit of the liver is called a liver lobule, which is made of liver cells and the large capillaries called sinusoids. Letter C. Between liver lobules are branches of the hepatic artery, the portal vein, and bile ducts. Number 2A. The digestive function of the liver is the production of bile, which contains bile salts that emulsify fats. Letter B. This is an aspect of mechanical digestion. Number 3. Bile leaves the liver through the hepatic duct, which joins the cystic duct of the gallbladder to form the common bile duct, which carries bile to the duodenum of the small intestine. Number 4. Bile also has an excretory function because bilirubin and excess are transported to the intestines to be eliminated in feces. Number 5A. The gallbladder is located on the undersurface of the liver. Letter B. State the two functions of the gallbladder. Stores bile and concentrates bile. Number 6A. The production of bile and the contraction of the gallbladder are regulated by hormones produced by the endocrine cells of the mucosa of the duodenum. Letter B. The hormone secretin stimulates production of bile by the liver. Letter C. The hormone cholecystokinin stimulates production of bile by the liver. Next slide. 7. The following diagram depicts the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Number 1, the answer is gallbladder. Number 2 is cystic duct. Number 3 is common bile duct. Number 4 is duodenum. Number 5 is major duodenal papilla. Number 6, liver. Number 7, common hepatic duct. Number 8, pylorus. Number 9, hepatic portal vein. Number 10, pancreas. And lastly, number 11, pancreatic duct. Next slide. Pancreas. Number 1, the pancreas is located in the upper abdominal cavity between the duodenum and spleen. Number 2, pancreatic juices are carried by the main pancreatic duct to the common bile duct to the duodenum, which is their site of action. 3A. Enzyme pancreatic juice contains several enzymes. The enzyme trypsin digests polypeptides to shorter chains of amino acids. Letter B, the enzyme lipase digests emulsified fats to fatty acids and glycerol. Letter C, the enzyme amylase digests starch to maltose. Number 4, bicarbonate pancreatic juice contains sodium bicarbonate that neutralizes the hydrochloric acid from stomach in the duodenum site of action. Small intestine. Number 1A. The small intestine is coiled within the abdominal cavity and encircled by the large intestine. Letter B. The small intestine carries food from the stomach to the large intestine. Number 2A. The three parts of the small intestine in order are the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Letter B. The common bile duct enters which of these parts? The answer is duodenum. Number 3A. Which layer of the wall of the small intestine is responsible for mixing chyme with digestive secretion and for peristalsis? The answer is external muscle layer. Letter B. What is the collective name for all of the nerve fibers and networks of the alimentary tube? The answer is enteric nervous system. Letter C. The name Peyer's patches is given to the lymph, lymph nodules of the small intestine. Number 4, digestion of food is completed in the small intestine and requires bile from the liver, pancreatic juice from the pancreas, and the enzymes produced by the small intestine itself. Next slide. 5A. The crypts of liver cone are the glands of the small intestine. Letter B. The secretion of these glands is stimulated by the presence of small intestine in the duodenum. 6A. The digestive enzymes produced by the small intestine are sucrase, maltase, and lactase, which digest the saccharides to monosaccharides. Letter B. Peptidase complete the digestion of peptide chains to amino acids. Number 7, efficient absorption in the small intestine requires a very large surface area, which is provided by several structure modification of the small intestine. Match each structure with its proper description. Use each letter once. One answer line will have two letters. Number 1, plica circularis. The answer is letter A, large folds of the mucosa and submucosa. Number 2, villi. The answer is letter B, small projections of the mucosa. Number 3, microvilli. The answers are letter C and letter D. Microscopic folds of the cell membrane on the free surface of each columnar cell and also called the brush border. Number 8, the villi of small intestine contain the vessels into which the end products, nutrients of digestion are absorbed. Each villus contains a capillary network which absorbs the water-soluble nutrients and a lacteal which absorbs the fat-soluble nutrients. Next slide. Number 9. Each answer line will have one letter and one number. Number 1, amino acids, vessel A, capillary network, and mechanism 1, active transport. Number 2, fat-soluble vitamins. The answers are vessel B, lacteal, and mechanism 4 requires bile salts. Number Number 3, water-soluble vitamins. The answers are vessel A, capillary network, and mechanism 1, active transport. Number 4, fatty acids and glycerol. The answers are vessel B, lacteal, and mechanism 4 requires bile salts. Number 5, monosaccharides. The answers the answers are vessel A, the capillary network, and mechanism 1, active transport. Number 6, positive ions. The answers are vessel A, capillary network, and mechanism 4 requires bile salts. Number 7, negative ions. The answers are vessel A, capillary network, and mechanism 2, passive transport. Number 8, water. The answers are vessel A, capillary network, and mechanism 3, osmosis. Number 10A, the absorption of vitamin B12, the stomach lining requires the intrinsic factor produced by. Letter B, the absorption of calcium ions requires vitamin D and thyroid hormone. Number 11, letter A, blood from the capillary network in the small intestine travels through the portal vein to the liver before returning to the heart. D, lymph from the lacteals in the small intestine enters in the left subclavian vein. Next slide. The next reporter will be Escovilla.
Review of digestion. Number 1. Complete the following chart by naming the digestive secretion and its action for each organ listed in the column under the proper food type. If an organ does not contribute to the digestion of a food type, write none. Several boxes have been completed to get you started. Organ: salivary gland, stomach, liver, pancreas, small intestine. Carbohydrates: amylase digest starch to maltose. Non non amylase digest starch to maltose. None. Fats: non non and bile salt emulsify fats. Lipase digest emulsified fats to fatty acids and glycerol. And none. and proteins, non-pepsin to polypeptides, HCI, pepsinogen, non-pepsin, non, and the last is pep, peptidases, convert peptides to amino acids, carbohydrates, and the following. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. Number 2. The following diagram depicts digestion. Number 2. The following diagram depicts digestion. Number 1. Amylase. Number 2. Amylase. Number 3. Sucrose, maltase, and lactase. Number 4 is bile. And number 5 is lipase. Number 6, pepsin. Number 7, trypsin. Number 8, peptidases. And amylase, sucrose, maltase, and lactase are in carbohydrates, and the bile and lipase are in the fats, and the pepsin, trypsin, and peptidases is in the proteins. That's all.
Large intestine. The large intestine is also called the colon and extends from the cecum of the small intestine to the rectum. Number 2. The first part of the colon is the cecum, which the appendix is attached. Number 3. Number the parts of the large intestine in order, beginning with the cecum. Number 1 is cecum. Number 2 is ascending colon. Number 3 is sigmoid colon. Number 4, descending colon. Number 7, anal canal. Number 3 is transverse colon. Number 4, the functions of the colon are the absorption of water, salt, and material that has not been digested as food. Number 2, the elimination of undigested food. Number 5, the normal flora or microbiota of the colon are the bacteria that live in the colon. B. One function of the colon flora is to inhibit the growth of pathogens. C. Another function of the colon flora is to produce vitamins, especially vitamin K. 6. The defecation reflex for the elimination of feces involves which part of the CNS? The answer is spinal cord. B. The stimulus for defecation is stretching of the rectum as peristalsis of the colon pushes feces into it. Number 7, number the parts of the reflex. R4, the defecation reflects in proper sequence. 1. Stretch receptors in the rectum generate impulses. Number 2 is sensory impulses travel to the spinal cord. Number 3, motor impulses return to the smooth muscle of the rectum. Number 4, the rectum contracts and the internal anal sphincter relaxes. Number 8, voluntary control of defecation is provided by the internal and sphincter which contracts to close the anus. Number 6A. The defecation reflex for the elimination of feces involves which part of the CNS? The answer is spinal cord. Letter B. The stimulus for defecation is stretching of the rectum as peristalsis of the colon pushes feces into it. Number 7. Number the parts of the reflex arc for the defecation reflex in proper sequence. Number 1. Stretch receptors in the rectum generate impulses. Number 2 is sensory impulses travel to the spinal cord. Number 3 is motor impulses return to the smooth muscle of the rectum. And last, number 4, the rectum contracts and the internal anal sphincter relaxes. Number 8, voluntary control of defecation is provided by the internal sphincter, which contracts to close the anus. The following diagram depicts the colon. So in the diagram, the number 1 is the transverse colon. Number 2 is the austral. Number 3 is taenia, taeniae coli. Number 4 is right colic or hepatic flexure. Number 5 is ascending colon. Number 6 is ileum. Number 7 is ileocecal valve. Number 8 is appendix. Number 10 is left colic or splenic flexure. Number 11, descending colon. Number 12, sigmoid colon. Number 13, rectum. Number 14, anal canal. Number 15, anus. Liver, other functions. With respect to liver functions, match each of the following with use each letter once. Number 1 is transmission, letter J. Number 2 is glycogen, letter I. Number 3, synthesis of clotting factors, H. Number 4, beta oxidation, letter G. Number 5, A, D, E, K, and B is letter M. Number 6, fructose and galactose, letter B. Number 7, synthesis of albumin, letter C. Number 8, synthesis of enzymes, letter L. Number 9, deamination, letter E. Number 10, synthesis of lipoproteins, letter A. Number 11, synthesis of bilirubin, letter D. Number 12, cholesterol F. Number 13, iron and copper, letter N. Number 14, copper cells, letter K. Let's start with the down. All downs. Number 1, anchors a tooth in its socket. Ay, wait lang. Videos. Ano, Dre, pause. Number 1 down, anchors a tooth in its socket. Periodontal membrane. Number 2 down, involuntary response for elimination of feces. Answer is defecation reflex. Number 4 down, prevents backup of stomach contents. The answer is LES. Number 5 down, prevents backup of intestinal contents. Answer is pyloric sphincter. Number 6, inflammation of the liver, often caused by viruses. Answer is hepatitis. Number 7, down, folds of the mucosa when the stomach is empty. Answer is rugae. Number 9, down, extends from the mouth to the anus. Answer is alimentary tube. Number 13, down, inflammation of the appendix. The answer is appendicitis. Number 15 down, folds of the mucosa of the small intestine. Answer is villi. Number 18 down, provides a hard chewing surface. Answer is enamel. Across. Number 3 across, amino acids cannot be synthesized by the liver. Answer is essential. Number 8, bile salts do this to large fat globules. Answer is emulsify. Number 10, across secretion of the parotid glands. Answer is saliva. Number 11, flora, the bacteria that live in the colon. Answer is normal. Number 12, across takes bile and pancreatic juice to the duodenum. Answer is common bile duct. Number 14, digestion, the physical breakdown of food. The answer is mechanical. The first 10 inches of the small intestine. The answer is duodenum. Number 17, across, accomplished by digestive enzymes. Answer is chemical. Number 19, prevents backup of vessel material into the ileum. Answer is ileocecal valve. Number 20, amino acids can be synthesized by the liver. Answer is non-essential. Pwede ko pagbalik to sa ano sa previous nga slide. Sige pa.
Slide.
Wala na.
Ano
Isa
kaya?
pa.
Asa ta na page?
22 ata to. Tung wala nabutngan.
Yun yung number 9, may answer.
Nako yung answer na. Wait lang.
Ano siya answer?
Paano sa bantay kay Marquez?
Hindi na may mag-edit siya.
Ako, malamang.
Ano siya answer?
Ano yung answer?
Ano daw?
Number 9. Ano na? Sisum.
Unsa?
CE.
Ilium?
CE. Ha?
I. Type
CE.
ta. Unsa daw?
Kami na sa
CE.
Unsa to? Sa bagod?
CE.
C
daw.
CE?
C is
Ayaw.
Taro nga ba?
CE.
Ikaw ko.
Na number 9, in the number 9 following diagram deposits the colon is cecum. So slide 25 na. Or mag-usab ko diri.
Part 3, Functional Anatomy of the Uterine System. Cross Anatomy of Human Urinary System. Number 1, what is the function of the fat accretion that surrounds the kidneys in life? Perineal fat capsules ensure the kidneys to the dorsal body, while interperitoneal positions and concisions at agents balls. Number 2, complete the labeling of the diagram to correctly identify the urinary system organs, then response to the questions that below. Perineal cavity, artery, urinary bladder, ureter, ureter, kidney, renal vein. Next slide. Next slide. Which of the following structures identified above applicable of the following statement? Number 1, maintain water and electrolyte balance of the blood, which answer is kidney. Number 2, serve as a storage area of urine. Answer is urinary bladder. Number Number 3, transport urine, the body extrudes ureteria. Number 4, transport arterial blood of the kidney is renal artery. Number 5, produce urine is kidney. Number 6, transport urine to the urinary bladder is ureter. Number 7 is shorter in human than in man is urethra. Next slide. Number 4, match each the lettered structures on the diagram of the nephrons. And associated renal blood supply on the left with the term on the right. Number 1, collecting duct, answer is letter E. Number 4, glomerulus, answer is M. Number 3, vertebral capillaries, answer is letter J. Number 4, distal convoluted tubular, answer is letter F. Number 5, proximal convoluted tubular, letter K. Number 6, cortical rudite artery, letter C. Number 7, acute artery, letter H. Number 8, cortical rudite vein, letter B. Number 9, efferent arteriole, letter A. Number 10, acute vein, I. Number 11, nephron loop, letter G. Number 12, afferent arteriole, letter D. Number 13, glomerular capsules, letter L. Next slide. Number 5, using the term provide in questions. 4, identify the following. Number 1, state of fluoride formations, glomerulus. Number 2, primary state of tubular representations is proximal convoluted tubules. Paki-zoom gugugamay. Number 3, structures that conveys the processed filtrate urine to the renal pelvis. Answer is collecting duct. Number 5 and number 4, blood supply that directly receives substance from tubular cells. Answer is vertebral capillaries. Number 5, in inner vessels membrane form parts of the filtration's membrane. Answer is glomerulus. Number 6, explain why the glomerulus is such a high pressure capillary bed. Because afferent arteriole bedding into it is a greater diameter compared to the efferent arteriole. How does the high pressure help the glomerulus from filtrate? Force flowed out to the glomerulus. Number 7, what structural modifications of certain tubular cells enhance their ability of reabuse substance from the filtrate? Answer is microville. Number 8. Trace a drop of blood from the time contains the kidney in the radial artery and until it leaves the kidney through in the radial vein. Segmental artery, internal acute cortical reduced vein, articute vein, and tubular vein. Number 9, trace the anatomical pathway of the molecule of creatine metabolic waste from the glomerular capsules from the utera. Note each microscopic and or gross structures and passes through it is travels and include the names of the subdivisions of the renal tubules. Proximal convolute tubules loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubules collecting duct, minor calnex, major calnex, and renal pelvis, ureter, and urinary bladder. Next slide. Number 10. What is the normal volume of urine extracted in 24 hours period? 1.0 minus 1.8 liters. Number 11. List 3 diagnosed waste that are routinely found in urine. Urea, uric acid, and ammonia. List 3 substances that are absent from urine of healthy individuals. Glucose and amino acids and blood proteins. List 2 substances that are routine flowed in fluoride but not in the urine product. Glucose and amino acid. Explain why urinalysis is a routine part of any good physical examinations. If there are abnormal substances, the urine indicated disease issues in the body. Number 13. What substances are responsible for the normal yellow color of urine? Urogrum. Number 14. Which has a greater specific cavity, 1 ml of urine or 1 ml of distilled water? Answer is 1 ml of urine. Explain specific cavity is related to the amount of solute and solutions plus urine. Urine well always have more solutes than distilled water. Number 15, explain the relationship between the color, specific cavity, and volume of urine. Paki-scroll down ko gamay. Specific cavity is related to the amount of solute and solutions. Urine well always have more solutes than distilled water. Next slide. Number 11. Number 16. How does urinary tract infections influences urine pH and decreases the pH? Number 17. Several specific terms has been used to indicate the presence of abnormal urine constitutions. Identify which urine abnormalities test in column A might be used caused by each of the conditions listed in column B. Blood and urine, hematuria, hemotic anemia is hemoglobin. Eating a 5 IV box of candies at one sitting, glycosuria. Pregnancy is amenorrhea. Starvation is Dyspneuria. Urinary tract infections is pylori. Number 18. What is renal coli and what conditions favor their formations? They are kidney stones come from formosacally concentrate urine. Number 19. What change should you accept to occur in a urine sample that has been stored at room temperature? It will grow bacteria plus smell like ammonia. Next slide. Number 1. Match each area of the kidney with reproductive statement. Use each letter once. Two answer line will have their correct letter and the other will have two correct letter. Renal cortex. B. The outer layer of the kidney tissue. Letter H. Contains the renal corpuscles and convoluted tubules of nutrients. Renal medulla. Letter C. The interlayer of the kidney tissue. Letter F. Consists of the wedge space pieces called the renal primals. G contains the loops of renal and collecting tubes of nutrients. Number 3 rather. Renal pelvis. Letter A. Cavity formed by the expansions of ureter kidney of the at the hilus. Letter D. The cycles are frenulal speeds extensions of this part. Urine enters from papillae of biorhythms. Next slide. Next reporter is Christine.
The following diagram depicts the frontal section of a kidney and magnified wedge of a kidney tissue. And in the first diagram, our answers are renal pelvis, renal artery, renal vein, ureter, renal pyramid, renal papilla, cortex, and calyx. For the second diagram, our answers are cortex, medulla, and papillary duct. Next slide, please. The nephron. Number 1. A. The nephron are the structural and functional units of the kidneys. Letter B. Each nephron consists of two major parts, called the renal corpuscle and the renal tubule. Number 2. A renal corpuscle consists of a capillary network called the glomerulus, which is surrounded by a Bowman's capsule, the expanded end of a renal tubule. Number 3, letter A. Blood enters the glomerulus from a afferent arteriole and leaves the glomerulus by way of the afferent arteriole. Letter B. Which of these arterioles has the smaller diameter? Our answer is efferent arteriole. Number 4A. The inner layer of Bowman's capsules is made of cells called podocytes and is very permeable because it has pores. Letter B. The outer layer of Bowman's capsule has no pores and is not permeable. Letter C. The fluid that enters Bowman's capsule from the glomerulus is called renal filtrate. Next slide, please. Number 5. Number the parts of the renal tubule in the order that renal filtrate flows through them. Distal convoluted tubule. Our answer is 3. Loop of Henle. Our answer is 2. Collecting tubule, our answer is 4. Proximal convoluted tubule, our answer is 1. Number 6. Collecting tubules unite to form a papillary duct that empties urine into a calyx of the renal pelvis. Number 7. The blood vessels that surrounds all the parts of a renal tubule are called the peritubular capsule, and they carry blood that has come from a parent arteriole. Formation of urine glomerular filtration. Number 1, glomerular filtration takes place in which major part of the nephron? Our answer is renal corpuscle. Number 2, letter A. In glomerular filtration, blood pressure forces plasma, this dissolved substances and small proteins out of the blood and glomerulus and into the Bowman's capsule. Letter B. The fluid in Bowman's capsule is now called renal filtrate. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Letter C. The components of blood that remain in the blood are blood cells, and because they are too large to be forced out of the glomerulus. Number 3, letter A. Are useful materials such as nutrients and minerals present in renal filtrate? Our answer is yes. B. Are waste product present in renal filtrate? Our answer is yes. C. Therefore, glomerular filtration is selective in terms of choose one answer. Our answer is 2. 1. Usefulness only waste materials enter the filtrate. 2. Size anything small or dissolved in blood plasma may enter the filtrate. 3. Both of these. Letter D. Renal filtrate. Therefore, is very similar to the blood plasma from which it is made, except that there is a little protein and no blood cells infiltrate. Number 4, A. The glomerular filtration rate, or GFR, is the amount of renal filtrate formed by the kidneys in 1 minute or time, and is about 100 to 125 ml per minute. B. If blood flow through the kidneys decreases, the GFR will, our answer is decreases. Letter C. If blood flow through the kidneys increases, the GFR, or glomerular filtration rate, will increases. Next slide, please. The next reporter is Miss Finis.
Wala tong naka ano na diagram. Sa isa ata siya na PowerPoint. Smith lang ba kay napo ko giatiman. Gross anatomy of the human male reproductive system. Number 1. List the two principal functions of the testes. The two principal functions of the testes are production of sperm and production of hormones, specifically the testosterone. Number 2. Identify all indicated structures or portions of structures on the diagrammatic view of the male reproductive system below. On the left leader lines are seminal gland, ampulla of vas deferens, ejaculatory duct, prostate, bulb urethral gland, epididymis, and testis. On the right leader lines are urinary bladder, vas deferens, spongiurethra, corpus cavernosum, penis, corpus spongiosum, and glans penis. Number 3. How might enlargement of the prostate interfere with urination or the man's reproductive ability? When the prostate gland is enlarged, it presses the urethra, resulting blockage, and as prostate gland surrounds the urethra, which is the passageway of urine, causes the interference with urination. Number 4. Match the terms in column B to the descriptive statements in column A. Number 1. Capillary organ or penetrating device. The answer is penis. Number 2. Produces sperm is testis. Number 3. Duct conveying sperm to the ejaculatory duct in the spermatic cord is vas deferens. Number 4. A urine and semen conduit is urethra. Number 5. Sperm maturation site is epididymis. Number 6. Location of the testis in adult males is epididymis. Number 7. Whose the glans penis is scrotum. Number 8. Portion of the urethra between the prostate and the penis is prepuce. Number 9. Empties a secretion into the prostatic urethra is membranous urethra. And number 10. Empties a secretion into the membranous urethra is the prostate gland. Number 5. Why are the testes located in the scrotum? Because of this temperature, testicle needs to be cooler for sperm development and maintenance. Scrotum is a good house to testicle for low temperature. Number 6. Describe the composition of semen and name all the structures contributing to its formation. Semen consists of sperm and seminal fluid. Sperm came from the testicles, while seminal fluid came from the prostate, bulbourethral gland, and seminal vesicles. Number 7. Of what importance is the fact that seminal fluid is alkaline? Because of the acidic environment of vagina, alkaline semen protects the sperm for fertilization. Number 8. Using the following terms, trace the path of sperm from the testes to the urethra. So, from seminiferous tubule to the red testes to the epididymis and to the ductus deferens. Below is a diagram of a frontal section of a portion of the female reproductive system. Identify all indicated structures. So on the left side, leader lines are ovarian blood vessel, fimbriae, ovary, ureter, blood ligament, mesometrium. On the middle leader lines are fallopian tube, cord, ligament mesalpinx, and ovarian ligament. And on the on the right side of leader lines are fundus of uterus, round ligament of uterus, cervix, and vagina. 。  . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . Number 10. Identify the female reproductive system structures described below. Number 1. Site of fetal development. It is the uterus. Number 2. Copulatory canal is vagina. Number 3. Fertilized egg typically formed here. The answer is fallopian tube. Number 4. Becomes erectile during sexual excitement is ovary. Number 5. Duct extending superlaterally from the uterus is the fallopian tube. Number 6. Produces eggs, estrogens, and progesterone is ovary. And number 7, finger-like ends of the uterine tube is membrane. Number 11. Name the structures composing the external genitals or vulva of the female. The mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, urethra, and vaginal orifices, hymen, and greater vestibular glands. Number 12. Put the following vestibular perineal structures in their proper order from the anterior to the posterior aspects. So from clitoris to the vaginal orifice to the urethral opening and to the anus. The next slide will be reported by Christine.
Thank you, Miss Finis. Number 13. Name the male structure that is homologous to the female structure named below. Labe- labia majora, our answer is scrotum. Clitoris, our answer is penis. Ovaries, our answer is testis. Number 14. Assume a couple has just consummated the sex act and the man's sperm have been deposited in the woman's vagina. Trace the pathway of the sperm through the female reproductive tract. Our answer is vagina, cervical canal, lumen of uterus, fallopian tubes, infundibulum, and fimbria. 15. Define ovulation. Our answer is the release of an oocyte. Microscopic anatomy of selected male and female reproductive organs. Number 16. The testis is divided into a number of lobes by connective tissue. Each of these lobes contains one of the four retitestis seminiferous tubules, which converge on a tubular region called the next slide, please. On the diagram showing the sagittal section of the human testes, correctly identify all structure provided with leader lines. Our answers are vas deferens, epididymis, spermatic cord, nerves, retitestis, and septums. Number 18. In the female reproductive system, what is a follicle? Our answer is a group of cells surrounding an immature oocyte. Next slide, please. How are primary and vesicular follicles anatomically different? Our answers are primary, one or small numbers of follicles surrounding the oocytes. Vesicular has a large antrium containing fluid produced by granulocele- grans- granule cells developing oocytes. What is a corpus luteum? Our answer is a completely normal cyst that forms on the ovary every single month in women of childbearing age. Number 19. What hormones are produced by the corpus luteum? Our answer is our answer is The primary hormone produced from the corpus luteum and progesterone, but it also produces inhibin and estradiol. Deep dive. Clinical application. 1. Letter A. Mrs. L is 50 years old and has been feeling pain in the upper right abdominal quadrant after eating. Her doctor suspects that Mrs. L has stones in which accessory organs of digestion. Our answer is gallbladder. Letter B. Such stones are usually made of what substance? Our answer is cholesterol. C. If gallstones are producing frequent and severe pain, the most effective procedure is to, our answer is to remove the gallbladder surgically. Number 2, letter A. Mr. A is 67 years old and has been hospitalized in diverticulitis. Diverticula are small outpouching of the wicked wall of the colon, and they become inflamed if, our answer, bacteria become trapped within them. Letter B. Mr. A is being treated with antibiotics to prevent further infection and the need for surgery. Number 3, letter A. Mr. F has been diagnosed with hepatitis A. He feels very fatigued, has no appetite, and the white of his eye appear yellow. Letter B. This color is caused by excess bilir- bilirubin in the blood, which Mr. F's damaged liver or organ cannot excrete rapidly. Mr. F asked his doctor what causes hepatitis and how he got it. Letter C. The doctor tells him that hepatitis is caused by a viral infection and that hepatitis A is usually spread from person to person by sexual contact. Number 4. Name the digestive disorder suggested by each of these descriptions. Number 1. A 6 months old baby boy often vomits after he's feeling pyloric pyloric stenosis. Number 2, a 40-year-old woman feels abdominal discomfort after eating foods that contain milk. Our answer is lactose intolerance. Number 3, a very serious infection that may follow a ruptured appendix or a perfo- perforated ulcer. Our answer is periodontitis. And that's all. Wala na ako kabalukin sa mag-report dira antud sa last.
Pag-stop ang record. Taking